Let's just bring you breaking news coming out of Slovakia's capital, where the populist Prime Minister, Robert Fico, has been shot and injured. The shooting occurred in the town of Handlova, north of Bratislava. Now, Prime Minister Fico was shot after a government meeting. He's been transferred to hospital, and it's believed the suspect has been detained. Slovakia's president has expressed shock over the incident. Alena Kudzko is a Vice President of Policy and Programming at GLOBSEC, a security policy think tank, and joins us again from Bratislava. Alena, good to have you with us again. I know this is breaking news and information is very scarce, but how shocked will the Slovak people be at this attack on their Prime Minister?
That is definitely not something that anybody in Slovakia expected. Slovakia has been a pretty polarized country over the past year. There was a round of elections, so of course there was a natural political tension in society. And some political rhetoric was pretty heated, especially in the run-up to the elections. But nobody, absolutely nobody from political leaders or from political forces called for violence in the country. Quite the opposite. Everybody right now is trying to unite and send coherent message that political violence is not something that we support, and it's a responsible thing to do to condemn violence. We hear that also from the opposition leaders, who are all rally behind the Prime Minister, wishing him a swift recovery and condemning political violence in Slovakia.
A short time ago we spoke and you told me that politics in Slovakia has been polarized since the elections, and debate can often be heated. Words, as you say, can be misinterpreted. I think there'll be a lot of analysis as to the types of language that have been used in the lead up to this attack. And whoever this individual is that has shot the Prime Minister, questions will be asked about his motivation.
Absolutely. Questions will be asked about his motivations. Questions will likely be asked also about the mental state of the perpetrator, but also about the psychological climate in society that is clearly polarized. And all parties now will have to sit at the table and consider what are the acceptable means of how we held public conversations, how we relate to each other in the public discourse. But again, what we hear right now from the political leaders is to calls to condemn violence and do not escalate the situation further, and do not make premature conclusions or pinpoint blame to others without first having established what actually happened.
Let's talk about the politics of Slovakia, because you said that the elections and the results and the conversation has been quite polarized. So what has polarized the company? Is it the relationship with the EU? Is it the economy? Is it the cost of living? Or is it Russia-Ukraine? What are the hot topics in Slovakia that have got the public, you might say, at odds with each other?
There are shared concerns in society. For example, a lot of people are concerned about the state of economy. A lot of people before elections were concerned about inflations, about the job situation in the country. And different parties and different leaders were offering different solutions. The main dividing lines, of course, concerned what is the necessary course of action that needs to be taken forward. One dividing line was concerning the situation, the war in Ukraine, and what should be Slovak position towards the war. There were people who were saying that we need to continue supporting Ukraine, and there were other parties, including the party of Prime Minister Fico, who was saying that we need to start more intense dialogue with Russia and look for peaceful solutions and look for ways to end the war as soon as possible, regardless what it means for territorial integrity of Ukraine. There were also another wave of disagreements which concerns the reforms that were done inside the country. There was a wave of protests against the decisions of the government to reform judicial system, or to, for example, reform the public broadcasting media and change the way how the government relates to the media and impose more control over the media. But again, none of these protest movements were ever calling for political violence. Quite the opposite. The protest movements and the opposition parties were trying to organize a public conversation on the topic and find a way to sort out the disagreements in a peaceful political process.
And of course, Alena, one of the biggest issues will be the security around the Prime Minister. And one would assume that heads of state are well protected, but he was actually shot in Handlova, a small town outside of Bratislava. Can you just give us an idea of what Handlova is famous for? Is it a working class town, city? Is it a high economic tech centre? What sort of people live there?
It's the thing is that the town is not particularly famous for anything. It's a normal place, which probably is the best reflection of the fact that even in the most normal environments, in the most traditional places, such acts of violence can happen in the current political environment. So it was a meeting with the regular population, regular people, and Prime Minister was trying to shake hands with some of his supporters when this attack was happened. But there was nothing remarkable or nothing outstanding about the place itself that would indicate any predisposition for violence.
Well, we shall continue to monitor that situation as it develops. But for the moment, Alena Kudzko joining us from Bratislava, thanks so much for your time.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get latest news from Al Jazeera.